Alrighty then, okay. So thank you for joining us today. We have the pleasure of having Dr. Razzouk, who's a Senior Instructional Designer at Arizona State University. She'll be presenting the curriculum development, the assessment, and the evaluation processes for the Vocational Training and Education for Clean Energy project. And so the purpose of this webinar is to provide us with an overview about the VOCTEC program and the importance of such program in developing countries. She will share with us the lessons learned and best practices from trainings that have been conducted in the Pacific Islands, Africa, and other places. Without further ado, let's get started with you, Rem. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me today. About our VOCTEC program, we'll present some highlights of some of the training workshops and the program components, and I will also talk about the assessments and the evaluation framework that we use, the program applicability, the lessons learned, and some of our future plans. So the first part of this presentation will be a short introduction about our program. So as you know, nowadays many clean energy systems are failing due to the lack of knowledge and the training and connections to operate and maintain these systems. So the Vocational Training and Education for Clean Energy program, which is what we call VOCTEC, is a global program that is actually funded by the United States Agency for International Development, USAID. And the objective of this program is to improve the sustainability of the renewable energy infrastructure and investments in developing countries by increasing awareness, knowledge, and capacity of local stakeholders, primarily in decentralized clean energy technologies such as solar photovoltaic, wind, and microhydro. Here are some of our program partners, to list a few. So we have U.S. Agency of International Development, Ira Fulton School of Engineering, University of the South Pacific, Green Empowerment, Appalachian State, NSF, and many other International Development Bank, IRENA, which is the International Renewable Energy Agency, and many others. So you can see that we have educational institutions, governmental, and industrial as well. So the VOCTEC program delivers training in 3 different renewable energy technologies: solar PV, microhydro, and small wind. And those trainings are actually on 3 different levels. So we do workshops for policy and decision makers, which we call the L3 level 3 training. We deliver trainings in for educators and engineers, which is the train the trainer model, level 2, and the technical training for creating skilled workforce. So actually that's the technical workforce training. The program objectives are actually to create a training infrastructure, which includes teaching and research infrastructure, mobile training toolkits, which we call the MTTs. I'm going to talk about these also later on in the presentation, and some lab equipment. So this includes actually classroom and classroom presentations and sessions, in addition to hands-on. The other objectives actually to develop curriculum and certifications, contextualize this curricula and specific technologies for local needs, develop these certifications process as appropriate for local needs as well. Third objective, which is very important, is to build the human capacity in those regions by training policymakers, educators, and technical force. And mainly, when we train our educators, in turn, those educators train technical workforce in their respective institutions and countries. We also try to build non-technical skills that include entrepreneurship, communication, teaching, and gender. And those are a huge part across our curriculum. And our fourth objective is to assess and evaluate. So in order to know if our trainings have good impact on students and trainees' knowledge and acquisition of knowledge and skills, it is very important to assess them before the training and after the training. So we do the technical assessments and certification, and in plus we do long-term technical and social behavioral impact. So we follow them after a couple of months to see the impact of the training on the long run. Finally, we also implement a virtual learning and collaboration platform, which is a virtual learning environment that allows our educators to communicate online together, ask us questions, and it acts also as a repository where we can provide them with all the material that they need. So I'm going to also talk about these in the presentation. Here are some highlights on VOCTEC workshops and other projects that we've been working on. So VOCTEC has been actually delivering trainings in many regions so far since we started in 2011. And those regions include Africa, Pacific Islands, the Caribbean, India, Nepal, and many other places. This is a snapshot of some grants that we have. So currently we have some grants from NZ and PAD that are related to microhydro, small wind. We have it from USAID, University of Virgin Islands, IRENA, and different other grants like IDB Bridge and CBTF, also funded by the International Development Bank, Interdevelopment Bank. This slide shows actually some examples of some completed trainings or workshops or planned trainings that VOCTEC has been actually delivering in solar, wind, microhydro on the 3 different levels that are educators, technicians, and policymakers. So we had a couple, I will just go through this kind of quickly by listing some. So some of the policymakers workshops that we've done already are in solar in Guyana 2012, that's been completed. Wind in Fiji in 2014, also completed. Microhydro in Fiji 2014. We are having an upcoming one in October 1st, actually, just next month, in Nepal. For technician trainings in solar PV that are NAPSAP certified. We had Aruba in 2012, and lately also we had a couple that are related to another grant, the IDB Bridge one, that were also NAPSAP certified, that happened in Barbados, Jamaica, and other places. Some of the educator trainings on solar PV, we had many in a couple in Fiji in 2013 and 14, in Kenya, in India, in Nepal also we're having one now also in October 5 that is coming up, and in India in November 2015 as well. And as I said, after training educators, those educators actually train technicians in their respective institutions. So we had many that are already done in solar PV before, in Vanuatu, Solomon Islands, Fiji, Tonga, because those were all trained in 2013 in Fiji. So those educators actually in turn trained their technicians in their respective institutions. Technician trainings on microhydro happened in Liberia 2014 as well. Projects with funding with International Renewable Energy Agency. As I mentioned before, we had many fundings from different places. We have technicians training on entrepreneurship and micro businesses opportunities with solar photovoltaic technologies. And these trainings were actually focused on trainees, all women trainees. So the objective was to have all women trainees that we can help them be entrepreneurs and open their own small businesses. Another project that we have with IRENA is actually the West Africa Solar Technician Training Certification Program that is actually still going. And we had IRELP, which is the IRENA Renewable Energy Learning Partnership that we actually just closed a couple of months ago. It is a knowledge advisory to IRENA, so as an academic institution, we were monitoring that. This IRELP is a web community that allows all people who are interested in knowing more about any technology related to renewable energy and clean energy and climate change and all these things to join for free. And this community included many experts from different institutions. Students also participated, so people were able to ask questions on the community. Another fund that we have is the Interdevelopment Bank funded bridge project for sustainable energy and information and communication technologies. So ASU has actually partnered with TNO, which is a Dutch nonprofit to execute the IDB project. Bridge represents is a shortening for building capacity and regional integration for the development of a generation of entrepreneurship. It's specifically for Barbados, Jamaica, Trinidad, and Tobago. It intends to enhance the capacity in the Caribbean countries in the sustainable energy and information and communication technology. So this is an ongoing project as well. Another project funded by IDB is a competency-based trainings. The competency-based training fund is in solar PV for educators and technicians, specifically in Barbados. The objectives of this project is actually to build a human capacity and training, and to train educators and technicians, and also to build educational institutions, training capacity, and to build the training providers' capacity to design, develop, deliver, and assess competency-based trainings. Here are some of the numbers or statistics of the people that we've trained so far in different levels. There are many others that are planned to be trained by the end of this year and by the beginning of the next year, as I mentioned before, in October, November, and we have some planned for February. So until today, we have around 500 technicians trained, 200 educators trained, 110 policymakers, and only 20 entrepreneurs, because that was the only one that we did with IRENA, although we incorporate the entrepreneurship material throughout all our curriculums and all the other trainings. In this part of the presentation, I'll actually introduce the components of the VOCTEC program that are mainly in each and every single training. I will also briefly talk about each of them. So some of the training components include the training toolkits. The training toolkit include the mobile training toolkit, which is a lab in a box type of thing that allows the students and the trainees to practice hands-on. We also incorporated lately educational games. I will talk about each of these components. Posters and other supporting material. We have classroom, hands-on, and online learning environment, which we call the virtual learning environment. Handbooks. We have performance measurements, assessments, and tools to evaluate the outcome of the trainings and the impacts of our trainings. Also, we have not only the technical part of the trainings, but the non-technical content that includes social awareness and gender inclusion to achieve the maximum impact and participation among women and disadvantaged groups. Other non-technical material includes project management, entrepreneurship, and strategies for teaching, and many others. The mobile training toolkit package for solar PV training. So this toolkit is actually the most suitable one for our trainings, because for the technician level training on the standalone solar PV system, because it is a complete out-of-the-box lab to conduct hands-on trainings. So after the classroom technician content or technical content, the educators will get the chance to practice with the technicians, and the technicians or the technical force will actually get the chance to practice with the educators all what they studied in the classroom. So it's very important to do hands-on in order to get all the skills and acquire all the knowledge gained from the classroom. It's very durable and portable, designed to use anywhere. It is designed and tested for end-user regional climates, so it is always customized based on that, and built from locally available components. One part of the mobile training toolkit is the training manual. This training manual is a book. It's a whole book that includes individual exercises by subject areas, and it is complementary to the VOCTEC classroom training modules, as I said, because they can implement all the exercises, and it is very consistent throughout. So once they know from the beginning how it is followed, they know how to follow it throughout. We've received many great feedback about the mobile training toolkit. So Emelina was one of our educators who got the educator training and then did trained other technical workforce in her respective institutions. So we've been receiving great feedback about these mobile training toolkits, and lately we've been developing a light version of it, because that's a big one. It's like the size of the luggage. So now we're doing a smaller version of it, which is very neat and clean, very easy and user-friendly. And usually in every training we send, for every institution we send from 3 to 5 toolkits of these ones. Lately to last year, we decided to incorporate some educational games for solar PV. Why games? Because usually learning is at its best when it is active, goal-oriented, fun, and interesting. And we thought adding a fun game that actually reinforced some skills that are very important for the technicians and the educators at the same time would help students to gain knowledge faster and acquire knowledge faster. So games usually assist in learning about certain topics and concepts. They reinforce the development of a skill or concept in a fun, interactive way. They also give the learners the freedom to experiment and teach them how to set goals while providing them with feedback. Games also prepare the trainees and the students to better problem solve and enhance their critical thinking skills. So we actually decided to create 2 games that are related to solar system troubleshooting and solar system sizing, because those are very important skills that the technical force or technicians and students need to know when they are working with solar PV systems. And those 2 games are actually open to public, and they are on our website, voctec.asu.edu. So the troubleshooting game is, troubleshooting in general is a very important set of skills that technicians and students need to have. It combines the knowledge and skills and competencies on a system and a subsystem and the component level of each. So in the troubleshooting game, usually it reinforces some critical knowledge that was taught during the training training, even through hands-on or the classroom. So one example is that the learner can actually troubleshoot different components, such as the load, converter, charge controller, battery, the PV array, and many others systematically to identify and fix the problem, which is a major thing in troubleshooting solar PV. So this also strengthens their problem-solving skills in a way. The solar PV system sizing that we also developed, because understanding fundamental design principles of a stand-alone solar PV system are very important. So this game includes 5 mini games that mirror the proper sizing steps for sizing a small PV system as taught in the training in the classroom as well. So I'm not going to demonstrate these right now because it would be easier if you can try and play them on the VOCTEC website. It would be actually fun to try and see how they work. Some feedback on the game from the trainings, because we also collect feedback by the end of the training. From the trainees. So trainees were actually very highly satisfied with the games, and they shared some of their quotes. As you can see, some of the interesting words that captured our attention were actually interactive, fun, interesting. They helped them understand the concepts more. Things are presented in a nice way to practice and stuff like that. The online courses, the VOCTEC program also offers a variety of digital resources which are designed to enhance and extend the learning process that starts with a face-to-face class. For this reason, we created a virtual learning environment that allow educators to access course material anytime and anywhere. So it is like a repository that allows them to access the material anywhere. It extends the knowledge by exploring additional resources and tools, because we provide them also with supporting material and refreshers as well. And it also allows them to network with other educators and technicians in the field and ask an expert as well. So they can also ask us questions and send us some questions that we can also answer. And usually in every training, we send all the material on the USBs. So having all this material, the educators also can customize this material for other technician trainings that are planning to do, or for students, or allow them also to create their own courses, because we also provide them with the templates and all the necessary information that they need. One very important part of our trainings is actually the assessment and the evaluation process. The assessment and evaluation process is a very fundamental part of these trainings, not only because it provides feedback on the trainees' performance and learning and the effectiveness of the instructions, but also because the feedback and the insight gained allow us to improve the current and the future training programs. So there are many benefits for this process. On the short term, it provides feedback on the trainees' performance and learning by comparing the pre and the post results. As I mentioned before, we do pre-assessments and post-assessments, and I'll explain this in a bit. It also gives indication of the effectiveness of the instruction and the training program. It provides a baseline for comparison to gauge the impacts. On the long term, because we do also long-term evaluations after 8 months from each training, it also shows us if acquisition of knowledge and skills is maintained over the long term, and provides insight on the impact of the training on the institution's development, offering new, for example, offering new short programs and incorporating new courses. And as I said, it also allows for improvement of the current and the future training programs. The assessment and evaluation framework that we've been using is actually adapted from the Kirkpatrick evaluation model, and it includes 4 measures that are listed in green: the reaction, the learning, behavior, and the impact. Reaction means or measures the participants' perception of and satisfaction with the design and delivery of the training program. Learning, we measure learning in 3 different areas: the technical content, advanced technical content that is for educators, non-technical content, and also other attitudinal measures. So learning is actually the extent to, it measures the extent to which the participants acquire new knowledge and skills. The third measure, which is the behavior, measures the participants' ability to apply the newly learned and knowledge and skills following the training. And the impact is actually the long-term impact of the training on the trainees' knowledge acquisition and application of skills. And this is mainly only for educators because we cannot really follow the technicians. So the areas of evaluation and assessment tools that we usually use, as I said, I explained before, reaction measures type of the attitudes, so the perceptions on and the satisfaction with the learning. So the tools that we use to measure these are some attitudinal surveys, and we collect quantitative and qualitative data. In the learning area, we measure learning in 4 different areas, as I mentioned: non-technical content, the non-technical means the gender inclusion, the social awareness, entrepreneurship, project management, teaching strategies, and others. Advanced content, which is usually the educator's material, the technical content, that is the material that is developed for the technicians or technical workforce or students, and the hands-on activities. So we also measure how the students or trainees are implementing or applying the skills through the hands-on activities. So for these areas, the first 3 areas, we do pre- and post-knowledge assessments that are usually comparable or the same. We assess the students before taking the training, before any delivery of the training material, and after the delivery of the training material. And then we compare results to see if there is any improvement or enhancement from the pre to the post assessments. The hands-on activities, we use hands-on evaluation forms to collect quantitative and qualitative data. For behavior, which is the perceived ability to apply knowledge and skills, we use attitudinal surveys as well. And the impact, we use knowledge assessments to measure long-term knowledge acquisition on the technical content, and we also use attitudinal surveys to see the impact of our trainings on the trainees' improvement of their quality of life and attitude and satisfaction with the training on the long term. In this section of the presentation, in this part of the presentation, I'm going to speak about the applicability of the program, lessons learned, and some future plans. VOCTEC program is mainly applicable to many regions and countries because we usually customize it and localize it is customized and localized to training services in different areas. We always customize the program to meet the needs of the audience and the trainees. It also incorporates assessments and tools for evaluating. It includes non-technical areas such as gender awareness. It also provides supporting tools and the virtual learning facility or the platform. It's also worth mentioning that we provide the educators, which is the second level trainees, the L2, with all the technical workforce material and curriculum, templates, supporting materials, activities, assessments and surveys that all allow them to modify and customize, as I mentioned previously as well, as needed to meet the needs of their trainees or to even create and develop new material and modules. Definitely, like any other programs and grants and projects, throughout of the trainings, we've learned many lessons, and some of which we've been continuously using to try to improve our VOCTEC program. And some of these lessons learned is that diversity of the language is always a challenge. As you know, in many countries, although we have prerequisites in all our trainings that they need to know English and stuff like that, specifically when it comes to the technical level or technical workforce level, not all of them actually spoke the English language, and we had someone to translate. Our partner there was actually translating for some of the trainees to understand. So impact of the trainings varies based on several factors such as trainees' background, availability, and location. We also learned that the online materials like games, modules, and all these things should be provided on a flash drive due to low connectivity. So we faced that issue specifically with the games because lately actually we're not having that issue. In India and Nepal and other countries, we're running the games online, while actually before in the Pacific Islands and many other regions, we had to provide them on flash drives so people would be able to download on their computers and play the games. That was one issue. Follow-up with trainees to conduct the long-term impact evaluation is difficult due to communication issues. As you know, after the trainings are done, people go back to their areas and to their institutions, and it's very hard sometimes to follow up again with them. Many of them do not reply via email, or so at many times, at many instances, our partners there were able to collect the long-term impact evaluations from the trainees, and at many times we weren't able to collect these because of the communication issues. Recruitment of females is very challenging. And that is very challenging due to many reasons, actually, because we noticed many cultural differences, many traditions also. Females are still like kind of shy to participate and these things, but luckily we were able to hire many females in many trainings, but we always hoped for more. One other issue is logistics, transportation, and security issues that need to be properly organized for any site visits related to the trainings. Budget and timeline for shipping, ground transport, customs, and local storage, all of these we were also taking these into consideration because customs take too long in developing countries, in many of these developing countries. We always had to carry cash funds, should be available. Planning and development of any material should be detailed in timely fashion to provide enough time for review. This is for internal processes as well, because we work with many experts, so we had to very well organize the development process as well, because it is dependent on many people, like on me, other faculty, other experts from different institutions. When it comes to wind and microhydro, for example, we work with other academic institutions or green empowerment or other organizations. The virtual learning environment, we also learned that it is always better to introduce it to the attendees in advance and have them create account prior to the event, because that was actually taking too long through the training. So those are some lessons learned that also I'm sure other programs and training programs been facing when doing such trainings in other countries. Some of our ongoing and future projects, a snapshot about these. We have with USAID, as I mentioned before, a couple of ongoing and future ones with IRENA, ongoing, Bridge, and University of Virgin Islands, and many others, and CBTF in the Caribbean. Our plan is actually to keep, our future plans actually to keep expanding by taking on new projects and conducting more trainings on clean energy in different countries. Definitely keeping these following objectives in mind. Our major objective is to increase the quality of people's lives in these developing countries, to increase work opportunities and sustainability, to ensure that the workforce possesses the skills and techniques needed to design, install, and maintain clean energy systems. And last but not least, ensuring the ability of transferring the right skills to the future generations. Thank you very much, and I'd be more than happy to answer any questions. And also, here are my contact information. Please feel free to email me at my ASU email address, or give me a phone call to my office at any time if you would like to have more information or for further discussions as well. Thank you very much for having me today. Thanks.
Thank you so much for that presentation, Rim. So now we're going to open it up to see if there are any questions in the audience. I didn't notice we had someone else come in and join us as well.
Okay.
Hi, thank you, Rim. I thought that was an excellent presentation. I really enjoyed it. I wasn't too sure what to expect initially from the description, but I think there's a lot of synergies with the work that you're doing and the work that Empowerment is doing. A lot of questions to you, which is perhaps for another person here. To other people within Empowerment who, although they're not here now, I'm sure will be very interested to see the recording of the webinar, and will be very interested in getting in contact with you afterwards.
Sure.
So I guess my first question would be about who are the people who deliver your training courses? Who are these trainers? Where do you find them? And what kind of experience?
For some reason, it's cutting off, so I heard part of the question, like, who are the people delivering the training? Is that right?
Yeah, that was most of the question. Yeah.
Okay, so we have faculty on campus, different expertise. For example, non-technical, gender, inclusion and stuff, we have professors related to that, whose specialization is gender awareness and social awareness, entrepreneurship, and other areas. Other faculty who are specialized in solar photovoltaic. We also have some faculty in microhydro and wind, and in many times when we don't have that expertise, other faculty from our subcontractors, other institutions, for example, Green Empowerment lately, we've been working with them. We're having some people now going from there to deliver trainings on wind and microhydro in Nepal. And when it comes, for example, also to microhydro, there are other academic institutions that subcontract us, for example, Appalachian State. So we always have the right people delivering the material, and we make sure that we work with these experts throughout the curriculum development, because it's very important for them, definitely, and for us to deliver the right content to the right people and to customize it and make sure everything is right. So I'm responsible. Sometimes I go, when it comes, for example, then to the non-technical trainings, gender or teaching strategies, stuff like that. And I'm responsible for the whole curriculum development process and assessment and evaluation. So I make sure every time it's a very back and forth process when it comes to curriculum development. So let's say we do the draft version of the first version of the first module or something. We send it back to the expert. They provide their comment, their modifications. We remodify. You know, it's a back and forth process until we make sure it is customized, it's ready to go, and it's final and delivered by the right people. Was that
It sounds like you've got quite a rigorous process there. I guess where my question was going with this one as well is, in terms of, this is the reason why I wouldn't.
I'm actually not hearing at all. It's cutting off a lot from.
Yeah, this.
Okay, I could begin more.
You can type it, John, and I can.
I'm at home at the moment.
You can type it, John,
Yeah,
and I'll read it.
Okay,
right,
I'll type it. If Peter has any questions in the meantime whilst I'm typing, might be worth him going ahead with them.
Yeah, sounds great. So Peter, if you have any questions, you can unmute your mic and we can hear you out, or you can type them as well. In the meantime, I had a really quick question regarding the games, Rim. I noticed that you only have solar at the moment, and it said that other games are coming soon. Do you know by any chance if you guys will have like wind energy games in the near future?
We were actually planning to have some. At the meantime, we are not, since this the USAID grant that allowed us to develop these games is actually ending in April. But definitely, we are keeping that in mind when we're having the other grants going on. So we didn't develop so far for wind or micro hydro any of the games, but hopefully in the near future we will. Yeah.
Oh, that's exciting. That will be useful.
Yeah.
I know with wind empowerment, we're working a lot with wind, so it'd be nice to have some of those games accessible to some of the organizations.
Sure,
do you know if or maybe you do know this, but are you guys making those games within yourselves, within ASU, or is it okay. Is it students or just faculty and stuff? Okay.
No, it's actually we work as a team on that. So because I am also responsible, for the learning processes type of, because my focus area is actually instructional design and educational technology. So the most important part for me is to improve learning and help students or trainees to learn. So it's very important for us at first to do the storyboarding for the games and see and set the objectives that we want them to achieve by the end of the games, as we do for the modules too. For every module we have like learning objectives, and we measure those objectives specifically in the pre and post assessments. So we make sure that we do the storyboarding, and then we work with some of our faculty who are their specialization is actually game development. We have someone on campus whose specialization is in that, and definitely he actually hires some of his students and himself and makes sure those games are working well, and web developers and stuff like that.
That's nice.
Yeah, so that's on campus. Those two games were actually on campus, yes. And definitely we need the expertise, right? So we make sure we run it by the subject matter experts to see that all the information we have are actually right information, right?
Yeah, great.
Because it's related to the tilt angles and the sizing and the troubleshooting of the systems and all these things. So it's very critical information that we have to have it right, and at the same time be parallel to all the information we're delivering in the classroom and on the hands-on activities too.
Great. Yeah, and with that, John was saying, and he wrote it down on the chat, that if you're looking for any experts in your wind power program, then Wind Empowerment can definitely connect you with academics and practitioners with the required experience in that. So
definitely, we'll
feel free to branch out.
Sure, we'll do that. Thank you.
You're welcome. Let's see, any other questions? I know I had one more. You were talking about the recruiting of females. Can you tell me a little bit more of where that pool is coming from? Do you have I'm assuming that the people that are organizing within the country go out and look for these females to come, but do you do more than just that, or do you help them branch out and connect to these female, you know?
Yeah, we tried actually that, and to be honest, in some cases it worked, in some cases it didn't, especially when it came to households. So, for example, we also had like we created many end user um, posters that help, and so the technicians or the technical workforce can actually take them to the end users, right? So we hired one of our colleagues there and partners to go to those households and see if they can recruit more female and stuff like that, and took that end user poster and so on. And it was a guy, right? So we didn't know that it would even be better at the beginning to have female talking to female. So there are some of the cultural issues that we originally didn't know, but then our partners there also helped in that. So we started sending some females to recruit. We started doing different advertisements on the campuses. Honestly, when it came to educators, it wasn't that hard because mainly most of them are related to specific institutions. But when it came to, let's say, technicians and things like that, it was really much harder. Because also what our partner noticed is that when he goes to those households, let's say, to explain something, the woman they were not allowed to speak. It was actually always the man or the male who was actually talking, and so it was really kind of hard to get the real information from the females themselves at the beginning. But yeah, I think for the next time we're gonna do more. Actually, we're not facing that at all in the Caribbean, for example, and in Africa. And it depends on the regions, to be honest. So Pacific Islands was actually challenging with respect to that. It was actually very challenging with respect to that.
Oh yeah, that was going to be my next question. Which region were you having the most trouble with?
Pacific Islands was
Yeah.
actually mainly where we faced really issues with that. Other countries we didn't find it hard. India, Nepal, many others. We did actually all women training just in Kenya a couple of months ago, and now we're doing another one in Kenya, all women training as well. So
That's exciting.
yeah, it's actually very easy. It was actually much easier, let's say that, not very easy, much easier than the Pacific Islands. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, much easier also with respect to the technology itself, because they are able to access the games online. All of these things were actually easier than the Pacific Islands. Yep.
That's an interesting point. Yeah, that's exciting. All right, let's see. Any more questions? Let's see, John.
Can you hear me any better now?
Yeah, that was better that time.
Yes.
Okay, I swapped to another microphone and it didn't work at all, and I swapped back to this one, and it's working. I think it's my internet connection that's not very good.
Yeah, it goes off and on, but that time it was clear.
Okay,
So
yeah, I mean, one of the things I really liked about the presentation was the long-term impact monitoring. It's something that we don't really do yet in Wind Empowerment because we're quite a young organization, but we have started delivering training courses specifically in Ethiopia. We're running practical training courses, wind turbine construction courses. And we really need to do something similar to what you're doing in terms of looking at what is the behavior change as a result of the courses that we're running, and what are people doing differently. The question about your training programs was relating to the discussion you were having just now about women and the participation of women. So in the entrepreneurial training that you've done with women, the arena programs you were mentioning, how many of those women have now started a renewable energy business?
Actually, they were all very interested in that, and there were actually some programs that helped them actually, or lended them some money by that time. That was actually a couple of years ago. But I think we had like 14, maybe if I'm not mistaken, 14 females in that training, and almost half of them actually ended up in that business, in the renewable energy business. They opened their own entrepreneur. They got some loans from the government. They were actually in Vanuatu and Solomon Islands mainly. So we also introduced them to the available programs, and we had someone from their countries and the banks and stuff talking about these things, and we followed up with them, and they were very happy with the training and the opportunities it provided to them. So it's very interesting that we saw like almost half of them in this business now.
So you would say half of?
Fantastic, really good.
Almost, yeah,
Okay.
almost half of them, yeah.
What was that, John?
I was saying that's really good to hear. That's good news.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I think with our Ethiopia program, that was always the aim, that one of the I guess participants in the training courses would be take initiative to start a wind turbine manufacturing business, but we've yet to get there. I think perhaps one of the parts that we're missing is what you've just described, describing the available support, local support for say financing for initial business startup costs, or other available support that entrepreneurs can get in order to make that lead their own business, because it's certainly an easy thing to do.
Right,
especially if you've
because it
done
is
it
a very
before.
important part. It is a very important, because if you give them just the information about, you know, the importance of the of being an entrepreneur and how does it help them to change their quality of life and stuff like that, it's not really enough for them if they don't get the how they can do it, right? Or the sources of help and the financing models and all these stuff in their area that are available for them. And it's always really, we found it really always great to have someone from those institutions come and deliver, you know, or talk about their systems, because they will always be better than us, to be honest, and, you know, explaining their models, right? And lately, to be honest, in Kenya, that was very impressive too, to mention, I think. All those women who we trained created a women empowerment group, and now we provided them with we supported them, and we gave them some money actually to start this group and do trainings for other women in their country. So they were all highly educated, they were all very excited, and they needed support. So we provided them with support, and Strathmore University, our partner where the training took place, also found some support for them from their country and stuff like that. And they just started, they created their own group. They are now hiring women to train and all these things. So that was it's actually incredible, because we provide them with the curriculum too. So it's really nice to hear about these things, I think.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Nice to hear about the success stories, the positive impacts that you're having, because it can often be quite thankless working in development, especially when you're working with people who are far away, and you can go and you can do something, and you can wonder whether anything's actually changed as a result. But I think that was probably the thing I liked most about your presentation, in that you're not just doing things, but you're really following up and making sure they've had the impact that you were hoping, and refining the program as a result. A lot of the I guess lessons learned that you presented on your final slides were things that we've experienced as well, and I wish that we'd seen your slides before we went and did the project in Ethiopia, because we got stuff delivered and it sat in customs when we were supposed to be using it. We couldn't get follow-up data from people because we couldn't get in touch with them by email, all of these kind of things, and they're really useful to learn. So I'm definitely going to be forwarding the recording of this presentation on to the people that are actively working on the EPO project. They are back next month, and I'm sure they will appreciate what you have to say there. and do some more follow-up work on that working group. And I'm sure they'll be really interested in material, both the material that you're delivering in the wind power courses, and potentially maybe becoming one of the trainers or contributing to that course in some way, if you're looking for those kinds of people.
Okay. Yeah, and we have also many of our supporting material online already, like posters and brochures and stuff like that, the games, things like that, because we care that other people, you know, see these. But usually definitely the modules and stuff are copyright and only the specific people who are involved, so we cannot really share it publicly, but definitely, hopefully in the future, if we got the chance also to work with you or someone from your company or organization, that would be actually also great if we needed that expertise, definitely.
I guess I understand that it's if you've got people that have developed a livelihood from it, they perhaps need to keep it secret if that's what they need to do in order to continue earning a living. It's good that you've got the games and other stuff freely available, and I think we'll definitely be looking at those. Right,
we have these available, but unfortunately we don't have the modules available for public. We just have them for our, you know, educators, trainees, and the faculty delivering the content. Yeah, it's unfortunate that we cannot actually share it publicly. Those are some rules of our sponsors, but hopefully in the future things might change. So because I personally believe it's very important for people to access these, for everyone to learn about these things when they are interested, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but we have the posters, we have the games. I'm more than willing to help in answering any questions if you have any questions based on our experience so far, because we've been in this program 5 years and it's a continuous improvement. We keep just improving and improving every single time based on the trainings, based on the issues and the lessons we learn, and based on the attitudes and the feedback from our trainees, because also assessment and evaluation is a huge part, because we also report to the sponsor. So for every single training we do, I have to run data analysis, I have to grade all assessments, I have to run all the data analysis, write the research reports about the attitudes or about all these measures that I mentioned before, learning, reaction, behavior, you know, all these ones, and report to the sponsors. So we provide all the data, all the results, all these things. So yeah, it's very interesting too. And we've been actually publishing. Lately, I presented in a conference about this training in the American Society for Engineering Education that was held in Seattle just in June, I think, June or July. So I wrote a paper about that, and it actually won the Best Paper Award, so we were very impressed with this thing. So, so we are trying to disseminate information about the importance of these programs as much as possible, like about what we're doing and what others are doing for sure.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
A kind of case study that I really liked in your presentation was the practical PV training kit.
Yeah.
I know one of our members is called Renewable Energy Innovation, and they've actually developed a very similar PV training kit, and they actually also focus on the troubleshooting part of it, because again, that is the most difficult skill to convey through pure, say, PowerPoint slides or textbooks. It's something that you really need to teach practically. I was wondering whether you had developed a similar kind of kit for wind power as well, because that's really where a lot of wind empowerment strength is, in the practical side, the hands-on training.
Actually, lately in this upcoming training, our partner from Green Empowerment been actually putting exercises together for the wind, and they developed also before micro hydro manual for also some activities and stuff like that. So they've been doing these as well. So yeah, we've been doing some of these too. But I think the most intense one was actually that solar photovoltaic one, because it has around like 50 something exercises, many exercises related to troubleshooting, sizing, and many other stuff. But we decided to do the games to reinforce those two specific skills, troubleshooting and sizing, because they have many specific components and subcomponents, and they will help actually the learner to know more about the system itself. So that was the major focus. If we were supposed to develop two games, we chose those two concepts only, so because we thought they are the most important two that allow learners to know about all the system itself. So yeah, we've been doing some stuff in wind and microhydro as well.
Just out of interest, who are you working with in green empowerment on the wind power stuff?
On the microhydro, and we've been working with Michel Mopo. I think now he retired, I believe.
Yeah. We worked with him, and they organised a few workshops in Lima, in Peru, on small wind, and then we've kind of done.
Right. He actually worked with us in Liberia.
Yeah, he's a good guy, Michel. It's a shame he had to retire.
Yeah, he retired, but actually now we're consulting him. He's a consultant. So he's going October 26 to Nepal, because the training is starting October 1. It's the wind. He's the one also working on the wind one right now. And Aaron Liss, I think he's been helping him, I believe. Yeah. And I've been the one.
That was probably where the connection for this webinar came from, through Aaron Liss, wasn't it?
Right.
Yes.
Exactly.
Right. So yeah, and also for wind, we've been working with the Appalachian State University on previous trainings. Dr. Dennis, his expertise is in that too. So we've been working with him too on that. But
sorry, did you say it was October 2015 or 2016 that Michel is going to Nepal for the wind training?
Yes, I think he's going on the 25th or 26th, and the training is starting on October 1st.
Sorry, October this year or October next year?
No, this year, now.
This year, okay, because we have a member organisation in Nepal, the Kathmandu Alternative Power and Energy Group, and we have a couple of volunteers working with them at the moment to do a market assessment for small wind in Nepal, to see what potential the technology has, what role it could play, whether it's complementary to solar and microhydro and the other technologies that are currently in use there. So I think it'd be good to connect Michel with them. I've got his contact details, so I can do that
definitely
myself. But it's good to know that he's going over there.
Yeah. I think he's always willing. He's a very nice guy to talk to. Yeah, for sure. He would be more than happy.
Glad that you managed to persuade him to come out of retirement as well. He's definitely an asset to the small-scale renewable energy for development world.
Definitely, they are going, I think, to Kathmandu. Yep, and we're having another person also going, because we're having wind. And then after the wind, Michel is coming back, but then we're having solar training on October 5th, I believe. Yes. Both in Nepal now. And then we're having some that are planned for India in November, and we have some stuff for February, and so it's an ongoing. And for every single training, we do that data analysis and follow-up and, attitudinal stuff, satisfaction with our trainings. And we also evaluate the instructors, so we do surveys related to that. So to see if our instructors or faculty when we are delivering that training, are we doing good enough for the trainees? Are they liking us, you know? So we don't only evaluate the training as the training component, you know, content and stuff like that, but also we evaluate the instructors.
Yeah, it sounds like you're very proud of it. The only way that you're going to improve.
Yes, yes. Mm-hmm. Yes, that's the only way to improve, you know, to collect all this data and know more. And definitely, you know, for attitudinal surveys and stuff, we keep the name optional because we don't want the trainees to feel that they are obliged to add their names. So it's always blind type of. We don't even add names sometimes.
Yeah, that's good to know.
So for them to feel very safe and be able to be honest, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So there's one final thing that I wanted to mention, and that was that we've recently published a book on small-scale renewable energy technologies for development that is freely available as a PDF. It's an open access resource. So
Okay.
I'll send you the link to it, and if you think it can
Definitely.
be useful for any of the trainers in the PV, the hydro, or the wind module, then please do share it with them because we really
Sure.
want people to use it. I mean, it is a book
Definitely.
you can buy, but we'd rather you don't buy it, that you download it for free, and you're welcome to do whatever you want with it. Anyone's able to take the material from it and use it in their own presentations as long as it's properly referenced. So
Definitely.
it's
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
an
We
open
always
source
we
resource, and we
use a
want it to
lot
be
from
out there.
different resources. Sure. Definitely.
I
Yeah.
know Michelle contributed to it, so he reviewed the wind section on it.
Okay. Yeah. Sure.
So
Please
maybe
send
he
us
already knows
the.
about it, but the hydro and the solar stuff, then perhaps that's useful for other people as well. So yeah, I'll send it by email.
Great. Great. Thank you very much. Definitely. That's very helpful too.
All right, well then I think that would conclude the webinar for today. Thank you so much for taking the time, Rim, to share this project with us, and we'll definitely be sharing it with all of our members on the website so they can watch the webinar itself, and they'll be contacting you if they have any questions or whatnot. And if we receive some of those questions, we'll definitely share them with you.
Perfect. Thank you very much for having me, and I hope this information would help all the people who are actually working in the same area. I appreciate your time too, all of you. Thank you very much, and thanks for the questions. And please feel free to contact me if you have any further questions. I'm always willing to help and assist. Thank you very much. And you all have a great day. Thanks.
Okay.
Brilliant. Yeah, thank you. I really enjoyed it, and thanks to Jessica for making this happen.
Yes, thank you. Great. Thank you very much.
All right, ciao.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Ciao.